The alien mercenary arrived without sound, without fire, and without warning. His ship slipped into Earth's atmosphere like a shadow passing over sleeping ground. From high above, the planet looked calm, almost fragile. Blue oceans, scattered lights, thin clouds drifting freely. To him, it looked unguarded. Easy. This world had been marked as low threat, low value, yet something hidden here had drawn the attention of powerful forces beyond the stars. Something they called the treasure. He was not told what the treasure was. Only that it existed on Earth, and that humans had it without knowing its true worth. That alone annoyed him. Across countless worlds, treasure meant energy cores, ancient weapons, genetic enhancements, or lost technology. Humans had none of those that mattered. Their ships were slow, their weapons crude, their science unfinished. By every known measure, they should have been irrelevant. The mercenary adjusted his cloak as he descended into a quiet region near a large human city. He chose night. Humans were predictable then, tired, distracted, unaware. He moved among them unseen, his form bending light, his presence erased from their senses. Streets stretched below, filled with metal machines and glowing signs. Humans walked in groups or alone, laughing, arguing, staring at small screens in their hands. They looked soft. Weak bodies. Thin skin. Short lives. This is the species that carries the treasure? He thought. The idea felt wrong. He activated his scanner, sweeping crowds, buildings, and signals. No unusual energy readings. No hidden devices. No signs of advanced alien contact. Governments, military bases, communication networks, all primitive. Disappointing. Either the intelligence was flawed, or the treasure was not something that could be measured so easily. The mercenary observed longer. Humans worked even at night. Some cleaned streets. Some guarded empty buildings. Some rushed to hospitals. He noticed exhaustion on their faces, yet they kept moving. That was common among labor species, nothing special. Still, something about their persistence caught his attention. Then he saw it. A sudden disturbance down the street. Loud voices. Fear. A small conflict between humans, one larger, angry, threatening another. The mercenary paused, curious. Violence among humans was expected. They fought each other constantly. He prepared to ignore it. But a third human stepped in. Smaller. Unarmed. No advantage. Yet that human placed himself between the danger and the weaker one. His heart rate spiked. His body trembled. He was afraid. The mercenary could see that clearly. And still, the human did not move away. The conflict ended quickly. Others gathered. The threat left. The mercenary watched the protector walk away, shaking, breathing hard, clearly affected by what had just happened. There was no reward. No gain. No survival benefit. The mercenary frowned. That reaction did not fit the logic models. He moved on, but his attention sharpened. He began to notice patterns. Humans running toward danger instead of away from it. Humans staying behind when escape was possible. Humans caring for injured strangers. These were not isolated events. They were common. Quiet. Almost invisible. Hours passed. The mercenary accessed deeper data streams. Emergency signals. War history. Survival statistics. The more he read, the more confused he became. Humans lost wars yet survived. They faced disasters that should have ended them, yet rebuilt. They adapted fast, often without planning, driven by instinct more than reason. This species should have collapsed, he muttered. A message arrived from his handlers, cold and brief. You are searching in the wrong way. The treasure is not an object. Observe behavior. Observe response under pressure. The mercenary looked out over the city again. Millions of fragile beings, unaware they were being studied by something far older and deadlier than them. For the first time since landing, he did not feel confident. If the treasure was not something humans owned, then it might be something they were. And that made them far more dangerous than any weapon. He faded back into the darkness, no longer hunting blindly, but watching with new purpose. Earth was not just another contract. Something here challenged everything he believed about strength. And this hunt was only beginning. The alien mercenary continued his observation, moving silently through the city like a thought without form. He no longer searched for devices or hidden machines. His focus shifted to the humans themselves. He watched them from rooftops, alleys, and crowded streets, always unseen, always listening, always learning. The more time he spent among them, the less they matched the weak, fragile image given in his briefing. Humans lived in constant pressure, yet they adapted to it without complaint. They worked long hours in loud places under heavy rules and still found time to speak, laugh, argue, and care for each other. Their lives were short, but they filled them with effort and meaning. The mercenary found this confusing. Most species with limited lifespans acted selfish and fearful. Humans did not. He followed a human transport vehicle underground where hundreds were packed tightly together. Faces showed stress, anger, boredom, and exhaustion. Yet when the vehicle suddenly stopped and lights failed, panic rose. Only for a moment. One human spoke calmly, others listened. Someone shared water, someone joked softly. Fear existed, but it did not control them. They endured together. This behavior challenged known survival logic: cooperation without command, risk without reward, emotional response without calculation. These traits should have weakened a species. Instead, humans seemed to grow stronger under strain. The mercenary recorded everything, but no data field explained what he saw. Later he observed a hospital, a place of pain and loss. Humans rushed in, carrying others who were bleeding, broken, or unconscious. Some cried, some shouted orders, some stood silently holding hands. The mercenary sensed fear everywhere, but also determination. Humans refused to accept failure even when outcomes were certain. Death did not stop effort, it only sharpened it. He noticed humans returning again and again to places that hurt them emotionally and physically. They remembered loss but did not retreat. They learned, they adjusted, they continued. This was not efficiency, this was defiance. The mercenary accessed historical records, wars, plagues, disasters. Earth had faced extinction-level events multiple times, yet humans survived not because they were strongest, but because they refused to stop. Even when logic said surrender, they advanced. Even when resources were gone, they improvised. Even when leaders failed, individuals acted. He recalled battles across the galaxy where stronger species collapsed after one defeat. Humans absorbed defeat and returned harder. This pattern repeated constantly. As night turned toward morning, the mercenary felt something unfamiliar. Doubt. His training told him to dismiss emotion, yet curiosity grew stronger. The treasure was not hidden underground or locked behind technology. It walked openly, unaware of its own value. He followed one human for hours, a simple individual, no power, no rank. This human woke early, worked a difficult job, helped a stranger on the street, and returned home exhausted. Yet the next day he did it again. No recognition, no reward, just persistence. This persistence disturbed the mercenary deeply. It could not be stolen, it could not be destroyed easily. It spread from one human to another silently. A second message arrived from command. Continue observation, avoid interference. Humanity must be measured under natural conditions. The mercenary complied, but he knew the truth was already forming. Humans were not strong in body or weapon, they were strong in will and refusal, in unity formed under pressure. He realized then why the treasure was hidden. It was hidden because humans believed it was normal. They did not see their resilience as power, they called it life. For the first time in his long career, the mercenary felt respect and fear. If such a species ever understood its own strength, the galaxy would not be ready. And the hunt was becoming something else entirely. The alien mercenary decided it was time to stop. Only watching, observation alone was no longer enough. Data without pressure was incomplete. To understand humans, he needed to see how they reacted when choice and danger collided. He selected a controlled situation, one that would not draw attention yet would force a clear response. He disabled a section of the city power grid, just enough to create confusion without permanent damage. Darkness spread across several blocks, lights vanished, signals dropped, and the hum of machines died instantly. Humans slowed, then stopped, voices rose, uncertainty moved through the streets like a living thing. From above, the mercenary watched carefully. He expected chaos, panic, and selfish movement. Those outcomes were common among lesser species when systems failed, but humans behaved differently. Some shouted for calm, others guided strangers away from traffic. A few used small lights to help the elderly and children move safely. Fear was present, but it did not take control. Then something unexpected happened. A fire broke out in a lower structure caused by overloaded systems restarting. Pearly flames rose quickly. Smoke filled the air. The mercenary marked it as the perfect test. Survival probability for those inside was low. Escape required immediate action. Humans ran toward it. The mercenary felt tension ripple through his frame. Logic demanded retreat, yet humans ignored logic. They entered the building without protection, pulling others out, coughing, struggling, falling, and rising again. Several were injured. Still they continued. No command, no reward, no preparation. He recorded rising heart rates, torn muscles, broken skin. These bodies were not built for this, yet their movement did not slow. The mercenary calculated that most of these humans would suffer long-term damage. Some might not survive. A structural collapse trapped one human under debris. The mercenaries saw others hesitate. They were afraid. That fear was real, measurable, and intense. Then one stepped forward, a second followed. They lifted the weight together, muscles tearing, breath shaking. Their bodies screamed for them to stop, but they did not. The mercenary froze. Across his career, he had seen warriors genetically enhanced, trained from birth, and driven by command structures. Even they broke under such conditions. Humans did not. Emergency forces arrived eventually, but the damage was done. The test was complete. The mercenary withdrew unseen, but his thoughts were unstable. His data showed humans choosing collective survival over individual safety repeatedly. This was not chance, it was pattern. He moved closer to ground level, this time among the humans, invisible but near enough to feel heat, smell smoke, hear voices. They were in pain, exhausted, yet their focus was outward on others. One injured human refused medical help until another was treated first. Another apologized for slowing the group, even while bleeding. These actions made no sense under standard survival models. The mercenary reviewed all known species responses under threat. None matched this. Humans did not wait for instruction. They did not seek personal advantage. They acted. This was the first time the mercenary felt something close to uncertainty. Fear of the unknown had always belonged to prey, not to him, yet now it pressed against his thoughts. He returned to a hidden location and transmitted partial findings to command. He omitted emotional conclusions. He sent raw data, movement patterns, injury tolerance, cooperation rates. The response came quickly. Continue testing, increase pressure. The order disturbed him. Testing at higher levels risked mass harm, but the mercenary reminded himself that this was his role. He was not here to judge, only to measure. Yet something had changed within him and within the mission. Humans had passed the first real test, not with strength or technology, but with something deeper. They fought not because they were ordered to, but because they refused to abandon each other. The mercenary finally understood one truth. This was not weakness. This was a weapon. And it was everywhere. The alien mercenary spent the following cycle in silence. He remained concealed high above the city while his mind processed the growing weight of what he had witnessed. Humans were not acting on instinct alone. Something deeper guided them, a force not written in code or command, something learned through pain and memory. He reviewed ancient conflicts from Earth history, wars that should have erased civilizations, yet humans endured. They adapted weapons, tactics, and even beliefs. In real-time loss did not weaken them, it refined them. Every failure became instruction, every wound became knowledge. The mercenary compared this to other species he had hunted, warriors bred only for combat. Once their strategy failed, they collapsed. He had seen empires crumble because they could not adjust. Humans adjusted constantly, often without realizing they were doing it. The truth began to form with unsettling clarity. The treasure was not hidden underground or encoded in human biology alone. It existed in their response to adversity. Humans became more dangerous the more they were challenged. He followed a group of humans in a conflict zone far from the city center. Resources were scarce, communication was poor, conditions were harsh, yet cooperation remained strong. Leadership shifted naturally, not based on rank but on competence. When one failed, another stepped forward. No hesitation, no ceremony. This fluid adaptability was rare across the galaxy. Rigid hierarchy dominated. Humans moved like water, filling every crack in the situation. The mercenary recognized this as a battlefield advantage of the highest level. Another message arrived from command carrying new urgency. The treasure must be secured. Begin extraction protocols. The mercenary paused. Extraction meant capture, removal, study. It also meant exposure. Humanity would learn it was not alone, and panic would follow. He tracked a suitable subject, a human with no exceptional status, no military training, no political value. This made the command clearer. The treasure was not tied to special individuals, it existed in all of them. As he observed this human over several cycles, the pattern repeated: work, fatigue, responsibility, sacrifice, quiet endurance. The human endured stress that would fracture most species without complaint. The mercenary tested environmental pressure, subtly increased difficulty, reduced comfort. The human adapted without awareness. Creativity replaced resources, determination replaced rest. This was the hidden truth. Humans did not require perfect conditions, they thrived in chaos. The mercenary accessed alien strategic doctrine and realized the danger. If humanity ever faced an external enemy, the initial losses would not break them, it would teach them. The longer the conflict continued, the more lethal they would become. The treasure was not something humans protected. The treasure protected humans. Command issued a final clarification. If extraction fails, initiate neutralization. The mercenary felt something twist within him. Neutralization meant elimination. If humanity could not be studied safely, it must be erased before it matured. He looked back at the city, the same streets where he had once seen only weakness. Now he saw potential beyond measure. Every human carried the same spark, the same refusal to surrender. Destroying them would be efficient now, but waiting would be catastrophic later. The mercenary understood why this mission had been assigned to him. It was not just a hunt, it was a judgment. Humanity stood at the edge of becoming something the galaxy could not control. The mercenary prepared his tools, but his movements slowed, his thoughts fractured between duty and logic. He had been trained to identify threats and eliminate them. Yet what he saw was not a threat yet. It was a promise. And promises had consequences. For the first time in centuries, the alien mercenary hesitated. The hidden truth was clear. Humanity did not know its own power. But someone else did. And the galaxy would soon have to decide whether to fear it or fear what it might become. The alien mercenary remained motionless as Earth rotated beneath him. The mission clock continued to count forward, but his certainty did not. The data was complete, the conclusion unavoidable. Humanity carried the treasure not as an object but as a force that grew stronger under pressure. His orders were clear: extraction or neutralization. There was no third option in the doctrine he had lived by for centuries, yet doctrine was written by those who feared change, and humanity was change made flesh. He descended again, this time not to observe but to act. He selected a location already damaged by human conflict and disaster, a place where fear was common and resistance expected. If humanity broke here, the conclusion would be justified. He triggered a controlled escalation, an event designed to look natural from the inside. Infrastructure failed, communications fractured, scarcity appeared within hours. This was a test that had broken dozens of species across the stars. Humans responded immediately, not with panic but with organization. Individuals stepped into roles without being assigned resources where shared arguments happened but did not stop progress. They disagreed yet moved forward together. The mercenary moved among them unseen, watching choices form in real time. He saw humans give up food for strangers, saw injured humans refuse rest, saw exhausted ones continue working because others depended on them. These were not heroes by legend, they were ordinary humans whose strength appeared only when demanded. The mercenary calculated probability curves again. Humanity's survival chances rose with each hour. Instead of collapse, they stabilized. Instead of fear, they built resolve. This forced the mercenary to face his own decision. If he reported success, humanity would be studied, dissected, reduced to data. Their power would be extracted and weaponized by others. If he reported failure, neutralization would follow. Earth would be erased quietly, efficiently. Neither outcome felt acceptable. He isolated one human near the edge of the zone. A moment of direct interaction became possible. The mercenary revealed himself partially, allowing the human to see just enough to know something was there. The human did not flee. Fear appeared immediately, heart rate surged, muscles tightened, yet the human stood his ground, shielding others behind him, without weapons, without understanding. That moment broke something inside the mercenary. Across countless worlds he had seen bravery, trained, engineered, rewarded, but this was different. This was instinct, this was choice. The mercenary understood then that removing the treasure would destroy humanity, and destroying humanity would erase something the galaxy desperately needed. Adaptation? Resistance. Unyielding will. He received a final transmission. Decision required. The mercenary looked back at the human who now spoke quietly to others, telling them to move away, to stay calm, to trust even when fear ruled. The mercenary made his choice. He altered the report. The data he sent was incomplete, fragmented. He described humanity as unstable, dangerous to study, impossible to contain. He recommended non-engagement. The response was immediate hostile disbelief. Threats followed, orders repeated. The mercenary cut the channel. For the first time he broke contract. This decision marked him as traitor, but he accepted that cost the galaxy would not understand yet, but someday it would. He reversed the damage he had caused, restored systems, allowed the humans to recover without knowing how close they had come to judgment. As he withdrew from the planet, he sent one final message, not to command but into deep space. Avoid Earth. Humans adapt faster than you can plan. The mercenary vanished into the void, carrying a truth heavier than any weapon. Humanity was not prey, not yet conquerors. They were becoming something else. Something unstoppable if pushed too far. And the alien mercenary knew that one day the galaxy would remember this moment. The moment one hunter chose not to pull the trigger. The alien mercenary did not leave Earth completely. He stayed at the edge of the system, watching, listening, waiting. He knew his warning would not stop everything. The galaxy never ignored opportunity for long, and soon his fear became truth. A foreign fleet entered the outer reaches, silent and aggressive, drawn by the same signal that had brought him. Humanity was about to be tested, not by shadows but by open threat. The first strikes were small. Satellites failed, ships vanished, signals turned to noise. Humans noticed something was wrong, but they did not understand it yet. Confusion spread across governments and military channels. Panic tried to rise, but before it could take shape, action replaced it. Humans had done this before, not against the stars, but against disasters that came without warning. The mercenary watched as Earth changed in hours. Nations argued briefly, then shared information. Old rivals opened channels. Resources moved without permission. Civilians were warned, protected, organized. No single leader commanded it, yet the response was unified. When the first alien craft entered the atmosphere, humans saw the impossible. Fear exploded across the planet, but fear did not stop them. Humans looked up and prepared. Weapons that were never meant for space were turned skyward. Scientists worked without rest. Soldiers moved without certainty. Civilians evacuated strangers without being asked. The mercenary saw the same pattern again. Humans did not wait to be saved. The invaders were stronger, faster, better equipped. Their technology outmatched human systems easily. The first battles were losses, heavy losses. Cities burned, defenses failed, thousands fell. And humanity did not break. Instead, they learned, they studied wreckage, adapted frequencies, changed tactics. Within hours, what failed once was never repeated. Humans treated every loss as instruction paid in blood. The mercenary felt a mix of dread and awe. This was the nightmare scenario for any advanced species, a slower, weaker enemy that learned faster than you. Human pilots flew knowing they would not return. Ground forces fought, delaying actions with no hope of victory. Engineers built solutions while under fire. Families said goodbye and still stood their ground. There was no illusion of heroism, only necessity, and humanity embraced it. The alien mercenary knew then that his choice had only delayed the inevitable. Humanity had reached the stage where pressure no longer revealed strength, it created it. The invaders attempted psychological warfare, threats, displays of power, promises of mercy. Humans answered with silence and resistance. As days passed, the balance shifted, not because humans became stronger in body or weapon, but because they became smarter, more unified, more ruthless in defense. The mercenary intercepted alien transmissions. Fear now moved through the attackers. Confusion replaced confidence. They had not expected resistance, they had expected collapse. They did not understand humans. Humanity did not fight to win at first, they fought to survive, and survival was their oldest skill. When the invaders finally withdrew, they left behind more than wreckage, they left behind proof. Proof that humanity could stand against the stars. On Earth, humans mourned, counted losses, rebuilt again. They did not celebrate, they did not realize what they had proven. The mercenary watched, knowing the galaxy would not forget. This test had been seen, signals had spread, data had been captured. Humanity had passed the trial by fire. Not perfectly, not cleanly, but undeniably. And now the universe would decide what to do with a species that refused to kneel. The mercenary prepared for the final chapter, knowing the hardest part was still to come. The galaxy had noticed Earth, and humanity had just introduced itself. The alien mercenary watched Earth from a distance as the planet healed slowly. The fires were gone, the skies were clear again, cities were damaged but alive. Humans moved through ruins with the same quiet determination he had come to recognize. They rebuilt without asking why this had happened, they focused only on what came next. Humanity did not know the galaxy was watching, but it was. Signals from the recent conflict had spread far beyond the system. Data fragments, stories, rumors. A species that should have broken had endured, a species that learned during battle, a species that refused surrender. The mercenary understood what this meant. Others would come not as hunters this time, but as judges. He finally made his presence known to humanity, not openly, not with fear, but with truth. He appeared before a small group of human leaders chosen not for power but for calm. They reacted with shock, fear, and readiness all at once. Weapons were raised, but hands trembled. The mercenary spoke slowly, using simple language. He told them they had been tested. He told them the galaxy had measured them, and he told them the truth: humanity was no longer invisible. He explained the treasure, the strength humans carried without knowing, their ability to endure, adapt, unite, and advance under pressure. He told them this made them dangerous and valuable. The humans listened in silence. One asked the question he had expected: what happens now? The mercenary answered honestly: now you will be watched. Some will fear you, some will want to control you, some will want to destroy you. Another human asked, why help us? The mercenary paused, then answered, because someone once protected a stranger, knowing it might cost them everything. That was enough. He left Earth after that, knowing his role was complete. He sent a final message into the wider galaxy: humanity is not prey, humanity is not ready to rule, but humanity will not fall. The message carried weight because it came from a mercenary known for accuracy, not mercy. Across the galaxy, plans changed, routes shifted, fleets hesitated. Some civilizations chose distance, others chose patience, a few chose preparation. On Earth, life continued. Humans argued, rebuilt, loved, and struggled. They did not become united heroes, they remained imperfect, divided, emotional. But now something had changed. Humanity knew it was not alone. And they knew they had survived. The mercenary understood this was the final cost of becoming a species: could remain hidden, or it could endure the test humanity had endured. Years would pass before the next encounter, but when it came, humanity would not face it as children, they would face it as survivors. The mercenary disappeared into the stars, carrying a quiet certainty: the galaxy would one day speak the name of Earth with caution. Not because humans were strongest, but because they never stopped. And that was the true treasure hidden in plain sight.